history of the park really goes back over hundreds of years for the dispute of the Rio Grande and the border between the United States and Mexico. As the river would grow and change and shift, there would be land that was American land end up in the Mexican side of the river. So lots of history here. So what this park really celebrates is dispute resolution, right? Over 100 years of a dispute over the boundary, you know, Mexico and the United States were able to settle this dispute by sitting down and actually having a resolution, right? When most countries are disputing over a boundary or a border, it usually leads to an armed conflict, and that's why this park is so special, because it talks about that conflict resolution and how, you know, sitting down and talking out your differences and having different viewpoints can lead to what we have now and is celebrated as the American and Mexican border here in El Paso, Texas.
You know, the river had kind of dipped south, and then it made this really kind of crazy loop around here and went that way. You have Juarez right here, you have El Paso right here. So when it would flood, the water would just flood El Paso and Juarez. And so the two countries in 1899 got together and cut a channel and straightened out the river right here. And so then you had this little island of Mexico north of the river. So around the land, they put a fence, which those obelisks that are along the north part of the park, those are the historic fence posts. So those are actual fence posts. There are 27 of them left. They're in their original locations. And then interspersed in those fence posts that were connected by wire.
We do have an original obelisk out front here. The obelisk that you see along the north of the park by Paisano Drive, those are replicas of what those obelisks used to do, but those were actually the markers that were marking the international border between Mexico and the United States.
When the Chamizal Treaty was put into place, instead of having this winding boundary, the river was straightened out a little bit more. And so that left a piece of Mexican land north of the river. And so that land was transferred to the United States, and to make up for it, another section of land that belonged to El Paso to the United States was transferred to Mexico. And it was not disputed, but it was making up for this extra land that was coming to the United States. So on this land, right around here on the east end, you have the port of entry for the Bridge of the Americas. About here you have Chamizal National Memorial, and then this end right here is Bowie High School.
John F. Kennedy started the entire process of finding a resolution to this dispute, and after his assassination, his predecessor took on the effort to finally bring a resolution to this 100-year-old dispute. Right, and then the Chamizal Treaty was actually signed in 1963, and that's where the border was established.
Mexico had a new president, so Gustavo Díaz Ordaz. Johnson was still in office, and so in December of '68, they were ready to open the channel, which is named for Adolfo López Mateo's River Channel. And this box was there, it was just ceremonial, it wasn't connected to anything. But upriver, they had like an earthen dam, like dirt dam, and they had someone with binoculars and they were watching, and when the two presidents pushed the buttons, they were supposed to blow up the dirt dam, and then the water would rush down the channel, and something happened that it didn't ignite just right. It didn't destroy the earthen dam, and so they had to get in really quick with like excavators and stuff and kind of move away the dirt, and finally the water started trickling down the channel.
After the treaty was signed and the river channel was going to be the international border, the United States ended up giving approximately 500 acres back to Mexico, which is hugely celebrated now in October for gaining land back that had been Mexican and American and eventually back into Mexico hands. So yes, El Parque Chamizal is our sister park in Ciudad Juarez.
So you can go to nps.gov/Chamizal, and from there you have our site in English, and there's also a link to our website in Spanish as well.
This visitor center where we're in right now is open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the public. And the park grounds are actually open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. year round. We're open to the public just because if you're coming here on a Sunday or a Monday and the visitor center isn't open, we have plenty of park area for you to go out and enjoy, bring your family, and this has become a gathering place for people to come out here as one of the main green spaces in El Paso and here in Juarez as well.